and he just looks like I wouldn't say that Luka looks outmatched, but this team looks completely outmatched compared to Golden State Warriors because. Hello and welcome to the Tuesday, May 24th edition of the TV on Basketball Podcast with your host, TV. Hope you're having a fantastic day and thank you for clicking on to watch or listen to today's episode. Before we start, I do have to plug my other platforms. Remember to follow at TV on Basketball on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for updates on the podcast and for other great content. If you're on YouTube, remember to like, share, to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you will not miss an episode. And for my podcast listeners, remember to subscribe and leave a review if you're on Apple. And for Spotify, Anchor, or Podbean, just continue to show your support in any way possible. That would be highly, highly appreciated. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing a lot of things. We're going to be talking about basically what's been happening in the conference finals so far. It's been a week, so there's actually a lot to talk about, including a series that could be over tonight, but we're going to be getting into that. I'm also going to be giving out my grades for the final bottom 5 West teams, so that should be pretty interesting. And at the end, we're going to be discussing a bit about the draft lottery and also the all-defense and all-rookie teams that were announced. So, action-packed episode. Thank you guys for sticking it out with me. And we're going to be just getting through a lot today. So, without further ado, just sit back, relax, and let's get into some playoff basketball talk. Let's go. And I didn't know where to really start with this, but I think this is probably the best way to go. We're going to start with the game that happened yesterday, or the series that just that had a game yesterday. Heat versus Celtics. Right now, the series tied at 2-2. And to be honest, I don't know if I can fully gauge the series because it feels like for like 70 or 80% of the series, the Celtics have had the advantage. They really have. If you look into game 1, they were winning basically the entire first half, one horrendous third quarter, and that was basically the end of them. They destroyed the Heat in games 2 and game 4. And in game 3, the Heat did play well. The Celtics were like the Heat played decent, but the Celtics, again, some sloppy turnovers, but they still did pretty decent, especially like when shooting the basketball. And I'm looking at this series, and I'm like for me, even though it's a 2-2 series, it hasn't been an enjoyable watch. Maybe it's recency bias from the last game, but watching like this series has just shown me that it's getting down and dirty, which I kind of like. A lot of people were expecting. We weren't expecting, 120s to 117s for this series. I think the highest any of these teams scored was Boston 127. But yeah, the Heat completely struggled that game. And when you just look at individual, like in these two individual teams, the Heat, they won Game 3 by dominating the third quarter, and then for the most part, they won Game 1 by dominating the third quarter. And they won Game 3 by basically just gaining that big lead and not giving it up in the second half. Besides that, Game 2 absolutely got dominated by the Celtics. Game 4, I would say got absolutely dominated, but it wasn't even really the Celtics offense. It was just them playing extremely poorly. And they're in this series, and I'm honestly surprised it's 2-2 once again. But some of the things that are really hurting the Heat right now, injuries. You had people like Kyle Lowry miss his first couple games. Tyler Hero had to miss last night's game. Just a lot of moving in and out parts. I mean, Jimmy Butler missed the second half of Game 3. Those are stuff that they've been having to deal with all series. And just watching their offense, it's like I did talk about, especially in the last series, that the Celtics could win, especially with the fact that their offense is just more potent than the Heat. And this Heat team just goes on lows on the offensive end. Sadly, yesterday it was basically the entire game because they just could not hit a shot. 33%, 30% from 33% from the field, only 30 field goals, 14 threes, and only like 14 free throw attempts. When you combine all of that, just not being able to get the shot, like the ball to hit the rim, that's gonna be tough for them. And then going to the Boston side of things in that game, only 78 field goal attempts for Boston, but 34 threes being put up, and 38 free throws. They just got to do better there for the Miami Heat. Their offense has just been really, really hard to watch. And you can just tell, especially in last night's game, they need some more shot creation. Jimmy Butler was not doing well at all in that game. And Victor Oladipo was really their only source of offense in the first half. You got him scoring 18 of the team's 33 points. It's just not a good key to success. And in other games that they did win, I mean, when you look at the Game 3 victory, you got Bam playing well. You got some good contributions from PJ Tucker, who had 17, Max Strus with 16. Those are the type of like performances you need in order for the Heat to win this, because you're not gonna like outscore Boston, especially if you see in Game 2. But they just got to do better when getting like more consistent help from everyone else. Because in Game 1 as well, Jimmy Butler scored 41, but he also got 18 from Hero, 17 from Gabe Vincent. It's the other guys that really need to step up, and they need to have just more of that offensive consistency in order to like win these games. But even still, when we're going to talk about the Boston Celtics, they're a team that kind of takes the foot off the gas pedal, and I just don't think that they are that good of a team yet to be doing so. Because the Miami Heat, their offense isn't great, and again, they do go on lulls. But at the end of the day, they just know how to like get these wins, especially like when the other team shows a form of weakness. And in the Celtics, and especially those two losses, it's the turnovers. It is the turnovers that have been absolutely killing them. Looking back into Game 1, I mean, they did a good job like not turning the ball over much in the first two quarters, including the fourth. But in that third quarter, I think it was like 8 or 9 turnovers, multiple coming from Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. That's what caused in the game. And in Game 3, I think it was like a 22-23 turnover. 23 turnovers for the Boston Celtics, and that completely messed up with their flow. Could not get their offense going. And that's the reason why they are put in this situation. Because when Jason Tatum's playing good, they usually win the game. Game 1, he did play well, but that second half, he was horrible. And then in Game 3, only 10 points. He needs to do better taking care of the ball. The Celtics need to get into their sets a lot quicker and not force things right away. Because we know that at their best, they are lethal at both ends. And their defense is going to be there. But their defense is not going to be able to get set. They're not going to be able to get back if it isn't for those turnovers, which is highly, highly important for them to win these games. And they did a good job when like taking care of the ball, especially when it comes to Game 2. And then Game 3, it wasn't as bad, only having 9 turnovers and total. Besides that, this Boston Celtics team, I mean, Jason Tatum, very good series so far besides the Game 3. Jaylen Brown a bit on and off in the series, but he's still been playing okay. But what this series has showed me most about this Boston Celtics team is that they just clearly have the more reliable supporting cast. Game 1, they were missing Horford and Smart. They come back, this team completely changes, and they give them so much effort on both ends of the court. Like I said, the turnovers losing games. And the thing is, like, for the most of this, like I said, the Celtics have been a better team. If you look at the totality of the series, they have been. But they put themselves in these situations. Sometimes it looks like they just beat themselves. And I know, look, that has to do a lot with Miami's defense. They are one of the best defenses in the league. But in Game 3, they had a total of 19 steals. 19. That is just a lot of sloppy basketball I've watched on the Celtics part. And that's what is now like, and that's what's leading to these losses. They really should be up 3-1 in the series. They really should, especially seeing like how well they were able to build that lead in the first game. But they're here, and it's really time for them to really put things together. They really need to like have a more consistent and maybe like try to end this in 6, because when Miami can't hit on the offensive end, they'll be good. They know how to play on the defensive end. But you just have to limit the turnovers. You got to hit the threes. That's literally the Celtics' key to success. Really is. And when they're playing well, they're gonna get these wins. And I said they're gonna play well to get these wins. Last game, they didn't even play well at all. I think they only shot 40% from the field, 24% from 3. Didn't matter. They got to the free throw line. And yeah, I mean, that's really what it comes down to the series. Them being able to take advantage of these Miami, offensive lulls and not giving them chances to come back. Because really, in Game 1 and Game 3, they gave away those chances to the Heat, and you cannot give this Heat team multiple chances. Because like I said, they just know how to pull out these wins. And in terms of the series in general, I don't feel like there was a game where both of these teams just clicked. I mean, There wasn't a game where I'm like, oh, Boston's having a really good game along with Miami. Now it's going back and forth, back and forth. We haven't got there yet, and we honestly did not expect it. These are some of the best defensive teams in the league. You got people like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, big shot makers on one side, with Jimmy Butler on the other side, and they've been hitting big shots. But at the end of the day, these two teams just know how to play well on the defensive end, and they're making it difficult for either one. I don't know how I'm gonna have a look out in the series because there have been so many blowouts, and I feel like the momentum keeps shifting one way, the other way. It really does feel like that. Going back home to Miami, we're gonna have to see how they're gonna be able to play. I think that Miami can bounce back. I don't think it can get much worse than them scoring 82 points, even though I think they scored like 77 in the second round series against no, was it? Yeah, it was against the Philadelphia 76ers. But honestly, if they can get over 100 points, hold and just play good defense, they have a chance. But the Celtics, once they get the offense flowing, it's going to be hard to stop, and I think that's the way they're going to be able to win against this Heat team. I just wish there were less blowouts. The freaking conference finals. I had to close this game out for the third quarter last night. I was bowling while watching the first quarter of this game, and I'm like, 4 minutes left. Miami still only has 4 points. They just can't buy a bucket. I swear the Heat starters after the first half only had 12 points in total. Yikes. That offense, man. That offense is so on and off. Hopefully they can get it going in game 5. Now let's move on to the next series, and we're going to talk about the Golden State Warriors. And they're up 3-0 against the Dallas Mavericks with a chance to sweep them tonight. And really, I could look at both of these teams. I could, and I will get into it. But for me, what this reminds me of are times where LeBron James, 2007, 2006, where he had to carry that Cavs team deep into the playoffs, even one time to the NBA Finals against the Spurs, and they look completely outmatched. Luka, in this instance, this guy's having a phenomenal playoffs. He got through the first round series against the Utah Jazz, beat the number one team in basketball in the Phoenix Suns, and now they're going up against a team who has basically dominated over the last decade, one of the most dominant runs we've had in probably the century. And he just looks like I wouldn't say that Luka looks outmatched, but this team looks completely outmatched compared to the Golden State Warriors, because no matter what, this Mavericks team has a game plan. They're sticking to it, try to hit a bunch of threes. That's how they beat the Phoenix Suns. That's how they destroyed the Utah Jazz. Against this Warriors team, it's a lot tougher to execute that game plan because, man, these Golden State Warriors teams, they just have shot makers. And look, Luka's still getting his points. He's averaging crazy amounts in this playoffs. I know he's averaging over 30 points per game throughout this entire playoff run. But besides that, I mean, he's averaging 28.4 points per game. In the regular season, in the playoffs, he's playing even better, averaging 32 points per game, and he's had multiple 40-point games this series, and it really doesn't matter because the Golden State Warriors just have too many players on that end. Really, I mean, when you look at game 1, Dallas clearly can get going in the offensive end. It was just a great all-around team effort with 7 guys going in double figures. Game 2, the story of that game, Dallas was going crazy from 3 in the first half, 72-58. 72-58, a first half lead. They got cold, the Warriors got hot. Steph finished the game with 32, Poole with 23 off the bench, 21 from Kevon Looney. So many different guys helping out there. Wiggins with 16, Clay with 15. Then you look at game 3. Same basically thing. 31 from Steph, 27 from Wiggins, and other guys scoring over 10 points with Kevon Looney doing the dirty work down there, 9 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists. They just have great guys hitting shots, while the Mavs aren't. Really, that's the case. And a big part to why they're doing so well on the offensive end was that the Warriors are able to exploit the Mavericks' biggest weakness, which is their inside presence. When you look at Kevon Looney, you're probably thinking he is not going to make that massive of an impact, especially on the offensive end. He's probably going to get shot, he's going to basically be unplayable in the series because of his defensive liabilities. Nope, this guy is performing well on the offensive end, and he's giving them such a big boost. I can honestly say that he's been probably the third or fourth best player in this series so far. He has been that good. Andrew Wiggins coming in, average just giving them that easy 16, 15 points in that massive 27-point game. That has been big in terms of just giving them a boost. Then you got other guys like Poole doing his thing. Didn't have a great game 3, but helping in the other ways. These are just so many guys that the Warriors, even to this day, they could win pre-KD, they could win with KD, and now here they're one game away from the NBA Finals just because they're able to maintain the score, and they had other guys step up when they need to the most. And this team looks like, especially on the defensive end, they look good. I get that, although Luka is averaging over 30 points per game, they're making the other guys have to work for their shots, and they're making it extremely difficult for them. And just look at the team as a whole; they just look like they're ready for the NBA Finals. They do, and they're just completely outperforming their secondary cast. And then when you got Steph Curry hitting shots, like crazy, getting into his Curry flurry, as I like to say, that's when it really does get to the point where you're like, okay, this team is legit, and they are ready for to go to another finals run because they just completely look like they outclassed this Dallas Mavericks team. But when talking to the Mavs, though, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, LeBron had to go through this. A lot of the great players in NBA history had to go through this. Luka, nothing this is basically the same. They had to go through these growing pains. Clearly, this team is not good enough to go to the NBA Finals. I mean, there's just times where it feels like Luka's putting them into such great positions to hit their shots, to just not hitting them. But he's still doing so much, especially on the offensive end, averaging this series 34 points a game, basically 8 rebounds and 5 assists. Trying to do it, play well on the defensive end as best as he can. But his other guys are just not hitting shots. He doesn't have that secondary star next to him. But once, the Mavericks get into this offseason, whether it's this offseason or the next, makes the moves in order to get Luka the help he needs, this team is going to be perennial finals contenders because Luka is just that guy. He hits tough shots. He has the percentages. Besides game 1, I mean, he's been absolutely dominant this series. But it's just the other guys. I mean, when you're looking at game 1, literally no one could hit a shot. It really didn't matter who it was. I mean, Don just had 20 points led the way. The only other consistent guy was Spencer Dinwiddie. Game 2, they finally were hitting their shots. You got a good contribution from Dinwiddie and Brunson, all scoring 20 points with Luka, who scored 40. That didn't matter. The Warriors, they just couldn't stop anyone. And then in this one, Brunson again played well, 20 points. Dinwiddie, 26 points. But the other guys just could not hit anything. I mean, Reggie Bullock 0 for 10. Reggie Bullock went over 10 in this game. You had Maxi Kleber go over 5, and they just look absolutely gun shy at this point. They haven't seen the ball fall through the hoop. They're hesitating. They're not performing their task because they're just completely out of rhythm. When you mix that and the fact that they just have no interior presence to stop Kevon Looney or any of these drives to the basket. By the way, that Wiggins dunk on Luka, absolutely nasty. But when you have that and you're not hitting your threes, not keeping up with the Warriors offensively, they just got no chance. No matter how much Luka scores. He's got, again, 2 40-point games in this series. Doesn't matter. The Warriors are going to have 5 to 7 guys in double figures. A few of those guys are going to hit are going to hit multiple threes. And you're going to have just so many bodies going on Luka that he's not going to be able to carry this team for the full 48 minutes. And the other guys are just not helping out. The Mavericks team, they're just not ready. This is a successful season nonetheless because they got through the first 2 rounds. They finally broke Luka's streak of not making it past the first round. And they took down the number 1 team in basketball in the Phoenix Suns. It's been a great, great season for them. And some people are comparing this team to the 2019 Blazers where they kind of got there and it felt like they didn't have a chance. I would say no. Just because Luka, I think, was a better player than Dame was at the time. And also, this team is super young. This team has such a bright future. And when you have a 23-year-old wonder kid who looks like who already looks like a top 5 player in the NBA, you know that there's something special going to be coming for this team very, very soon if they know how to use their pieces right. Their defense is not ready. They don't have the shot makers to make it to the NBA Finals. But this was a good lesson for them. This was just good experience going up against a team who has done it before, who's won 3 championships within the last 10 years, who looks like who have aspirations to get their 4th. You got Luka getting guarded by multiple guys in terms of a Kevon, like with Moses Moody, Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins, seeing all these random defensive coverages completely throwing off this team. This is a good thing for the Mavs to learn. And whether they avoid the sweep, whether they get done the sweep, again, successful season for them nonetheless. And as for the Warriors, they look great. They have the shot makers ready, and then now you have Wiggins, Draymond, and again Moses Moody at times coming in, playing that defense, at least like slowing down the rest of the Mavs as best as they can, and it's leading to dominant victories as they did in Game 1, as in the comeback in Game 2, and just being able to hold on to the lead in Game 3. Because the Dallas, I want to talk about this real quick in Game 3. Dallas had a chance at the end there. Luka hit a 3 to cut it down to 5. But it was just their great offense, a great ball movement that really ended that game for the Golden State Warriors. Jordan Poole hitting that 3. I'm just so impressed with this Warriors team to have like 3 different iterations. 1 pre-KD, they got a championship there. They won 2 with KD, and now you have a team that's kind of bridging the current core of the Warriors of, Clay, Dre, Steph, Kevon, Andrew Wiggins, and connecting them to the future, with Kuminga, Wiseman, Moses Moody. You have a team that can do both, and you're still being able to win these games. Highly, highly impressive. Nothing to take away from them. They've been phenomenal in the playoffs. And the Mavs, a lot of bright future. Hopefully they can avoid the sweep, but I'm not going to, keep my hopes up for sure. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the playoffs. Let me know down below what you guys think. Now we're going to be talking about, now we're going to be moving on to the final season grades for this, for the NBA season. Until we go into, once these series are done, we're going to definitely talk about the 2 teams that got eliminated. But in terms of season grades, we're going to be talking about the bottom 5 teams in the West, the teams that didn't even make the play tournament. And I'm going to be giving them grades on their season and just basically giving a quick synopsis on all of them before we get into the other stuff in terms of the draft lottery and the All-NBA/rookie teams. So the bottom 5 teams in the West, we're going to go through them. The Lakers, the Kings, the Blazers, Thunder, and Rockets. Let's grade them. We're starting off with the 11th seed. We're talking about the Los Angeles Lakers. I don't have to go too far in this. I really just don't want to talk about them. I'm giving them enough. Horrific from start to finish. You got injuries to LeBron, injuries to AD. Disappointing season in Russ, and literally the entire supporting cast is just not it. I don't know. I mean, LeBron, AD, and Russ should be good enough to at least get you into the play-in, but they really couldn't play together. Bad management decisions, not great coaching. Just a disaster. Just a disaster throughout this entire season. And what sucks is that, look, they have a lottery pick. They don't even have it because they traded away the Anthony Davis trade. Yeah, the Pelicans ended up getting it. And I think they got the 7th or 8th pick. Sorry, somewhere in the top 10. Good for them. For me with the Lakers though, I don't even know where they can go from here. They got LeBron, AD, and Russ. They're probably gonna trade Russ somewhere. I don't know who's gonna be able to take the contract. But at this point, they really just have to run it back. They really don't have much of a choice besides that. And maybe it's the Lakers. They're going to find a way to get the supporting pieces around them to help out LeBron and AD in their next run for a championship. But I don't know. I don't have much optimism for this team. They just really just handicapped themselves in the situation, and they just don't have many assets to be able to, make deals in order to improve this team. I don't know where it's going to come from, but good thing I'm not GM. That is Rob Pelinka's job. Let's see what they're going to be able to do come the offseason. So, yeah, giving them a grade, F. This Lakers team was on a graphic with the Nets to try to make it to the NBA Finals. You want to just quick them there? Yeah, they weren't even close. They horrendous season. I just don't want to talk about them anymore. Let's move on. Sacramento Kings. If I had to give this season a grade for them, I would have to give them a D. I was going to think about them giving a C-C, but, man, they traded away one of their best young pieces in Tyrese Haliburton for Domantas Sabonis in hopes that would be enough to get him to the play-in tournament, but it didn't. It didn't. They have this influx. I mean, also they had an influx of guards with him, Davion Mitchell, De'Aaron Fox, and you have this team right now. You still got a good young core, I guess, with also with your three guards there. Um, but now you're going to the draft. Good. You know, they got the fourth overall pick, which is great. But they don't get in the top three. They're not getting either Banchero, Holgram, or Jabari Smith. And now they're projected to get another guard. This is, I don't know. I just feel like the Kings are always putting, like, are always in bad situations in terms of drafting, in terms of their roster. And are they going to draft another guard after they got rid of Tyrese Halliburton in order to help out with their bigs? I don't know. I mean, they got lucky to get into the top four. I think they had like seventh best odds or something. They're in a good position here. Hopefully, they don't mess it up. But if we look at the Kings' history, they look like they probably are. Next season, I don't know like what type of moves they're gonna be. I know they have Mike Brown as their head coach next year, which hopefully can change up the culture there. But that's something that we can always think about, but we're not gonna be able to completely judge it unless it's on the court. Hopefully, they can take an improvement next year. But man, I just don't think they had a great season. I'm gonna give them a D. I wasn't a fan of the Tyrese Halliburton trade at the time, and I'm not even more of a fan of it now. Just not. Moving on, the Portland Trail Blazers. CJ McCollum got traded during the season at the trade deadline. Damian Lillard had to shut it down for the season back in like basically January, February. You got that. You have the seventh overall pick, and honestly, this season it was just like try to get into tank mode, especially near the end. You're shutting everyone down. You're hoping to get a top pick, and it really didn't work out. They only got the seventh pick. I have to give this Blazers season a C minus. Probably before the season, they were hoping to be a play-in / playoff team. They lost in 6 games to the Nuggets last year in the first round, and it really did feel like with Dame there that it should be they always seem like to get to that position. But a slow start in the beginning. Damian Lillard did not come out guns a blazing as he does usually. And after the injury, this Trailblazers season is basically over. They said, you know what, this Lillard McCollum backup isn't working. Trade them away. Try to get some pieces there. And they really did try tanking. I mean, they shut down Anthony Simons. They shut down Nas Little. They shut down Yusuf Nurkic. They traded away all of their veteran pieces and Rocco and Norman Powell, who they just had to a big extension before the season started. They're trying to go into tank mode. It didn't really pay off, but at least they have a lottery pick. Let's see what they're going to be able to do with that. But honestly, this offseason, they should be looking to get some trades. They said this is not going to be a rebuild. It's going to be a retool. Hopefully they can help out Dame with getting a versatile wing in the draft or a big, or even just trade for them. I mean, DeAndre Ayton could be on the market for a sign trade. Let's see what the Blazers can offer. But yeah, I mean, I had to give him a C minus just because before the season you thought they were going to be a play-in / playoff team, and they basically fell way short of those expectations, and they ended up being 13th in the West. C minus though, I think that they did the right decision at the end of the day. Finally breaking up the backcourt, getting rid of some of those old guys, try to go a bit younger. So that's why I'm not giving them a D plus or a D. I think they made the right decision, at least going through this halfway through the season when they realized the season was out of reach. They have the seventh pick. They wish it was better, but I still think a C minus grade is fair. Moving on, we're gonna go on to the Oklahoma City Thunder, and for the season, play it up. I'm gonna give them an A. Their season their plan this year was to rebuild, tank again, try to showcase some of their young guys, and they did basically all of that. They clicked off all those boxes. They drafted Josh Giddey with the sixth pick last year, and people were questioning that a lot because Josh Giddey, this guy was like kind of an unknown prospect. This guy wasn't exceptionally great at anything, but he was good at a lot of places. But the Thunder decided to take him with the sixth pick. And man, this guy won Rookie of the Year multiple times. This guy looked really good. Youngest player to record a triple-double. He looks like to be one of the best young talents in this league. They tanked well enough where they got the second overall pick, which is absolutely massive for them, meaning they get one of either Smith, Banchero, or Chet Holmgren, which is a great success for them. And they have lots of assets there, still in the draft picks, still with some of their young players, that they could really make themselves a contender. Like in the next couple years, if Sam Presti, if the Thunder organization really want to pull the trigger, I really do think that they can turn it around really quickly. As the Phoenix Suns have did, like how the Memphis Grizzlies have. I think that they are on the cusp of that. Draft a really good player here, make some trades here and there, and I think that the Thunder could be right back into the playoff picture. I just hope they can pull the trigger soon because this feels like this is a turning point for this rebuild. I really hope it happens. So yeah, I mean they did what they had to do. They had to tank. They got the second overall pick. I have to give this an A season for them, 100%. Now we're gonna go to the 15th seed in the West, and we're gonna be talking about the Houston Rockets, who, again, their job this year, tank well, and hopefully you get to see some good production from their young guys. And they basically got that. Jalen Green started off the season rough, but finished off the season on a high mark. You got some good, you saw some good things from Josh Christopher, Alperen Şengün. You got Kevin Porter Jr. having an okay season. You got a nice of young pieces, and you gave them time to develop, which is really, really good. They also got the third pick in the draft, which is, again, massive for them because that means they'll be left with either Banchero, Holmgren, or Jabari Smith, one of the three. And then they can be able to get that and pair them up with the Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr., and continue to build that young core. Again, you would maybe like the first or second overall pick, and I think that's what they were aiming for. But they got one of the three. I think they're very happy with this season. I think that they still got to get rid of some of their veteran guys there, like an Eric Gordon, potentially a Christian Wood. Maybe they can get something back for him in terms of young assets. We'll have to wait and see. But they didn't have much aspirations this year to try and go far. They didn't, but they were able to tank well and still get a desirable pick in the pick number 3, which is very, very good. I got to give this Rockets again season an A because they had a goal before the season and they were able to accomplish it. So good job on them. So yeah, those are my grades for the final 5 teams in the West. Let me know down below. Would you agree or disagree? And yeah, let's get right into the final topics of the show, which is going to be the draft lottery and the all defense teams. We're gonna talk about the all defense teams and the all rookie teams first to start off with, and yeah, we're gonna go through them. Let's talk about the all rookie teams first. I think I got all of them right exactly. All rookie team 1: Cade Cunningham, Scotty Barnes, Jalen Green, Evan Mobley, and Franz Wagner. In team 2, you got Josh Giddey, Ayo Dosunmu, Chris Duarte, Herb Jones, and Bones Highland. When looking at my predictions, I think I got them exactly right. Yes, I did. And, there's some people complaining, why is Jalen Green over Josh Giddey? I could see the argument, but at the end of the day, I just think that Jalen Green played a lot more and actually had just put up some massive numbers at the end of the season. I don't mind him being there. And yeah, I don't think many people should be complaining about all rookie teams. I think the 10 guys that deserved it made it in. Very happy with the results. And the fact that I got all of them right, basically, yeah, I got all of them right. Not even basically, I got all of them right. So, in the right spots. So, yeah, good for them, all the 10 rookies. I really think that there could have been other guys you could have made the argument for. Kind of like an Alperen Şengün, like I mentioned earlier, for the Rockets. But yeah, what this shows us is this rookie class, man, they're going to be something special. Whether you're going to be a star player, potentially like a Scotty, Mobley, or Cade, or even just very long-time role players like a Chris Duarte, Bones Highland, Dosunmu. Maybe they can even go more than that. Who knows? But this draft class is deep, and I'm very excited to see how their careers all develop. Now moving on to the all-defense teams. I basically got 9 of the names right. Again, maybe the placement was wrong, but I got 9 names right except for one, except for the final spot. But let's go into them. All defensive first team, we had Marcus Smart, Triple J, Rudy Gobert, Mikal Bridges, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. In terms of my all defense first team, I basically had that, except I had Bam Adebayo instead of Rudy Gobert on the first team, but that's fair. And then going on to the all second team, we had Bam, Draymond Green, Drew Holiday, Robert Williams, and Matisse Thybulle. Yeah, I think, again, I don't mind all those picks. My predictions were going to be Drew, Fred VanVleet, Robert Williams, Draymond, and Gobert. So basically all the players are there from the 2 teams, except for Fred VanVleet, and instead they put Matisse Thybulle. For me, this Matisse Thybulle thing, it's more of a... I mean, he is a great defender, one of the best defenders in the league. I'm not denying that, but I think that's more of a reputation type of vote more on that. I think that Fred VanVleet is a very underrated defender. I want to know. Yeah, see, other players receiving votes. Fred VanVleet was literally right at the edge, but I just don't think that they gave him enough votes. Yeah, for sure. But again, I'm not too stressed over it. I think the right guys were chosen. Even the person who made over Fred VanVleet and Matisse Thybulle. We know he's an elite lockdown defender. Congratulations to the guys who made it on this list. I still think I would have Bam a bit over Gobert, especially with the Jazz underwhelming season. But once I saw that Gobert was one of the finalists for Defensive Player of the Year, I had a feeling I'm like, okay, you know what, he's probably gonna be all defensive first team. So, you know what, that's fair. But I'm happy that all the guys, like people like Robert Williams, were getting recognition. Drew Holiday still made it on. Very good for them. But yeah, those are the all defensive teams. If you guys have any snubs or anything, please let me know down below. Again, my snub would probably be Fred VanVleet. I would have him over Thybulle this year, but it's each to their own. Now we're gonna go into before we end off this episode, we're gonna be talking about the draft lottery. And we know now we know the top 3 picks basically in the first round. We got the Orlando Magic locking out, getting the first overall pick. The Thunder, who had the 4th best odds, moving into number 2. The Rockets, getting number 3. They had the number 1 best odds, but again, this is still the same as number 3, so they ended up getting number 3. Sacramento, and Sacramento was a pretty big winner here, moving up from the 7th best odds all the way to number 4. So yeah, very, very good for them. I'm going to go through quickly my winners and losers of this draft. Winners, OKC and Houston. I would have to say, just like anyone in the top 3. All these guys, and again, Smith, Holmgren, Banchero, they all got cases to be number 1. And I think each of these teams kind of have a hole in the big man position. And the fact that there's 3 big / kind of big wings there to be chosen, I think they're happy with either one of them. The only thing I would say is that I would want Chet Holmgren on the Oklahoma City Thunder. I just think that he fits kind of that team a lot better, especially for someone who, like, for a team that clearly needs a center. I think he'd be great there. But besides that, I just don't think any of these guys will be disappointed with who they end up getting. But yeah, very good winners, especially for those top 3. In terms of losers, we got the Detroit Pistons, who fell out of the top 3, which sucks for them, which absolutely sucks. I think they were really hoping to get that guy next to Cade being that big man and those top 3 names, but it dropped to number 5. Highly unfortunate for them, but you never know. Again, draft day trades may happen. Trades in general might happen before the draft, so we'll have to wait and see on that. Another loser for me is the Portland Trail Blazers. There's always that one team that ends up jumping from, well, the bottom, like, that are not in the top 4, like they jump into the top 4. This year was the Kings, unfortunately, for the Trailblazers. I think they were really hoping to look out there, but they didn't. But yeah, I would just consider them a loser just because they probably want like another top prospect. Besides that, also I would say the Lakers. They don't have a lottery pick. They don't have any assets, and this would have been a good asset having the 8th overall pick here. But good job for the Pelicans. Now that they could potentially add another pretty good prospect to their already really good young core with Brandon Ingram, Zion, Alvarado, Herb Jones, all them guys. I think they could be a nice little pick there to add to that. But yeah, those are the draft lottery results. Let me know what you guys think. If there are any other winners and losers here, let me know down in the comment section below. But yeah, I think that's where we're going to end today's episode. Thank you guys for watching or listening. Remember to show love on all the podcast channels. Like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you're on YouTube. And remember to follow @TV on Basketball on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I should be back either later this week or next Monday to release another episode of the pod to discuss how these series have ended, because I think they should be ended by the time I get to the next pod. Maybe there might be maybe a Game 6 or Game 7 potentially. We'll have to wait and see. But we got that going on, and of course, if there's other teams eliminated, we're going to talk about them for the season grades. And also talk about other news that are going on in the NBA. Hopefully we get to have some lives this week as well, maybe before or after these playoff games. Be on the lookout for that. So yeah, just make sure to follow me on all the social media networks so you are updated on that. I want to thank you guys for all the support, and again, thank you, and just look out for other episodes in the future. Hope you have a fantastic day. This is TV signing out. Take it easy, guys.